Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Also podcasts, Facebook Live, YouTube, and of course you can go to talklawradio.com and search for previous episodes to learn about guardianship, probate, estate planning, wills, power of attorney, and much, much more. But today we're talking about mediation with Toni O'Brien with Restoration Mediation, and we've been talking about families that are in dispute because of illness or death.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the types of disputes that I've seen or heard of, and you can just weigh in on how maybe that situation could be addressed. Sometimes a person will seek out guardianship service because they think that their loved one is not making good decisions. And so we always have to begin with, well, is that person incapacitated? Because you have the right to make bad decisions if you want to, just so long as you have the mental capacity to make that analysis in your own mind. And so I've been involved in guardianships when that was the biggest question is this person incapacitated? If there were a mediation situation, how could that be addressed?
Well, a lot of weight, even in the mediation, is going to be given to the physician statement. Mm-hmm. What they're saying. Our office was once involved in a guardianship where there was a dispute as to whether or not the ward had capacity, the potential ward had capacity. And ultimately, the conclusion was made that maybe for some things, but not for everything. Mm-hmm. And so I think that would be, that's the better approach, is to say, if the physician statement says, yeah, there's some issues, then use that as the base. But, you're right. If we're, and I've said this more than once, she can make whatever decision she wants. It's her stuff. Mm-hmm. It's her mm-hmm. thing. Because she's making bad decisions doesn't mean that she lacks capacity. It may be just some common sense issues. But you can't mediate common sense.
Yeah. Some of the behaviors that I've heard people complain about are gambling. Mm-hmm. When those people are going to need money to pay for care and medical service, or let's see, I was thinking about something, but then it slipped my mind. So you mentioned the physician statement. Mm-hmm. Just for the listeners that don't know what we're talking about there, the Estates Code requires a special form be filled out by a physician that has questions about what medical issue or health concern is causing this person to make decisions that a healthy person might not otherwise make. So that form is somewhat public. You can get it from the courthouse. And so I give it to everybody. Say, you let me know what you find out, and then we'll take the next step from there.
Right.
But it seems to me that this would be a situation where maybe there's not enough communication between the family, and so you need to talk about, well, what is it exactly that you're concerned about? Is health deteriorating? Oh, that's what I was going to mention. Some people choose not to go to the doctor.
Right.
And that's allowed. You can decide that for yourself, just so long as there's not something prohibiting you from making decisions.
Another really common issue is when a spouse, they've been a long marriage and a spouse has died, then the surviving spouse finds a companion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is one of the most common things. And then the kids are all crazy about, you know, this person is taking advantage, and,
Right.
you know, we need to get him under guardianship so we can get her out of there, or get a divorce if he's married or she is married. And again, you know, if they have capacity, they can do what they want. You can't really, you can't tell them what to do, even though they're older. And if they want to be in a vulnerable situation, you have to. The best thing to do, at least for me, and I've only been in one of the situations, was to sit the whole family down and let them address the concerns. We never really mediated or came to a settlement agreement, but everybody sat in the same room.
Family meeting.
Yes, a family meeting. And I think in this case, the surviving spouse was surprised that the kids were feeling this way, because they hadn't communicated that to him. And so I think that really is something I can be helpful with, although it's not true mediation.
Well, love makes people do strange things sometimes.
It does.
Whether you're old or not.
Yeah, and you know, just because you hit 60 doesn't mean you're not capable of loving or having a relationship with people. And I think sometimes our kids forget that. You know, when my dad died, or when my mom died, they'd been married 64 years. And when we moved down here, there was a woman at the assisted living that he enjoyed her company, and I was fully supportive of that, because he'd been married 64 years. You know, he missed the company of a woman, and so I was, but not all my siblings were excited about the concept. Yeah.
Well, you know what the chances are of a happily married man getting remarried after losing his wife are?
No.
About 90%.
Really?
Because of what you said, happily married men, they miss that. They enjoyed being taken care of. The opposite isn't usually true of women, though. What are the chances of a happily married woman getting remarried after losing a spouse?
No.
Not so high.
I'm sure. We're like,
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, we're free. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about a different situation.
Okay.
Who should be in control? You mentioned a few minutes ago somebody who maybe wanted to be power of attorney over the finances, but it could be somebody who just wants control over everything, making medical, health care, and financial decisions.
Well, that is the most, probably one of the most common things, is durable power of attorneys. They really are the thing that families seem to struggle with the most. Who should be in control? Well, the
oldest,
person,
right?
Yeah,
The oldest child.
No, the person that actually is giving
right.
up the agency. You know, so that's the person that really should be in control. But when they lose the ability to make good decisions, you need, you know, even though someone is named as the person, in a family situation, it's really important to be transparent. Let all the siblings know. I mean, you can't let them know every decision, because they're happening pretty quickly.
But you can let them see the bank statements.
Share the bank statements. Share, you know, the big decisions. Don't make them on your own. You know, get the whole family involved. Make them feel like they're a part of the decision making. When you do that, when you really are transparent and you're sharing information and you're not like lording it over them that you're the power of attorney and that their opinion doesn't matter, it moves in a whole different direction. And so when we have those conversations, when I have those kinds of family meetings and we end up mediating, that is the first thing, is that let's make a schedule of when and what kind of information you need to share. And then they all, you know, can agree to it. Most of the time, there's a fair amount of tweaking that has to be done, but that's the biggest issue is making sure that everybody knows what's going on, so they don't feel like you're just making decisions.
Yeah, those are some good tips. We're nearing the end of the show, and so we have to talk about legacy.
And now, it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
I wasn't sure how that was going to come out because I haven't done a recorded episode in a long time. Maybe since Mark invented that little segment there. So let's talk about how you want to be remembered, or something that you learned, a legacy from those who went before you.
Well, there's a song that Stephanie Gretzinger sings, and it says that I want my children and my children's children to know that I loved the Lord and that I served him with everything I had during the course of my life. And that's how I want to be remembered, as a servant, and that I truly, as much as I possibly could, lived out my life in front of them in a way that gave him honor. That's the legacy I want to leave behind.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Tell us something about what you learned from your parents, or you were saying before the show about all the time that you spent.
Yeah, when I moved to Orcas Island in Washington, my parents had been in Juneau for 30 years, and they decided they wanted to move with me. And so I ended up a 14-year journey of caregiving for them. And I think the biggest thing they gave me was their time. I had their total full attention for 14 years. And some of it was hard, but most of it was just amazing. It was such a gift, such a gift.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, it has been my pleasure. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you heard about mediation today with Toni O'Brien with Restoration Mediation. Will you tell them what your email address is again if they have questions, want to get in touch with you?
So it's Restoration Mediation, www.restorationmediation.com, and it's Toni, Toni, at restorationmediation.com.
That's it for today. We'll talk to you later.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law Radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.